Hey, everybody, and welcome to Roosters. It's Lettermen Row, Ohio State season football kickoff show, brought to you generously by our partners down here at Roosters. Great to hang out with them. I've got, to my left, former Ohio State linebacker Zach Boren, new Lettermen Row contributor Tim May Sports, formerly of the Columbus Dispatch. Way down here, the guy, you know him, the tailback, Beanie Wells. Guys, we've made it through the offseason. There's 4 or 5 practices under the belt for Ohio State. We finally have something new to talk about, Zach.
Yeah.
It's been a long, desolate summer.
It has been. It's been a long time since we've actually got to talk about football, right? The Rose Bowl seems so long ago, but really, if you look at it, I mean, we're just, we've been discussing it all summer. It's really the thing that we've held on to, so it's good to have have us down at practice, be able to see those guys, see the new coaches interact, the freshmen come in, and this is an exciting time for Ohio State football.
Man, you get my age, man, everything goes like that.
So the Rose Bowl does feel like yesterday
happened
for you?
2 days ago, I got hired by Lettermen Row 1 day ago, and here I am, between a linebacker and a running back or a fullback and a – hey, we could run the eye here.
We could.
And I could just be dropped. I could be Tom Brady. I don't have to run.
Hey, Ohio State's touring with that under center snap with Justin Fields. We got a new fullback back here.
Yeah, but we don't have to go with that. We
Beanie
stay
can
old
get his
school.
wish, and they
We
can
stay
dot
old
the
school.
I again.
Hey,
Absolutely.
listen, that may have been the biggest running back and fullback combo if I got to block for Beanie. My
that would be
God.
sweet.
I would have loved every bit of it.
I'd run play action all the time and dump it to the tight end on a little drag route. But bottom line, yeah, it's been a quick summer. I'm not sure it's been totally uneventful, but I think this. Man, the more you look at this football team, the more talented it gets, in my opinion.
They're on the field, Beanie. It's your favorite time of year, training camp.
Oh, no question about it. This is where you kind of figure out who's been working hard in the offseason, and this is where you get to notice which one of those young guys is going to step up and kind of make their presence known. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those young players, some of those guys that have been waiting in the wings to get an opportunity.
Right.
New coaching change. Maybe guys are out in the doghouse with the coaching change. So who's going to put their best foot forward? Who's going to be that new marquee guy? Because we do have a lot of new open positions.
Who is it? Who are you talking about? Who was in the doghouse that you think could come barking?
Well, I say this name all the time.
There he
Everybody
comes.
that listens to
There he
Lettermen
comes.
Row knows the guy that I want to see. And Tim, you already know this. That's why you asked the question.
I know, but go ahead.
Demario McCall.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
That's funny because he brought him up the other day at
Boy.
post-practice, and he thinks he's too deep into that doghouse to really come out. I mean, it's now or never,
He's
really.
just so talented.
But Beanie knows this as well as I do, and you guys do being media guys. Once you're in the doghouse, man, it's hard to get out,
hard.
right?
It's hard.
It's hard. The coaches give you the benefit of the doubt for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're in that doghouse, man, you got to do everything to get out of it.
Or they might need you to play middle linebacker.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, I may have been, too hard on Demario because part of it has been injuries. Part of it was the doghouse. If you fumble in key situations, you fumble in the game, it's going to be tough to overcome that, especially that situation. It
But
could've
stuff
changed it.
happens, man.
That's right. But everybody knows the potential. But I think it's just not – you don't know for sure that you can count on him health-wise. I can't believe that we started the show with Demario McCall. We got Justin Fields as a Heisman contender. Chase Young, a potential #1 draft pick. Let's reset here. All right?
J.K. Dobbins, a new J.K. Dobbins.
We'll talk about these players. We'll get it going here in our season kickoff show for Lettermen Row, presented by Roosters today. We'll talk about the schedule. We'll talk about Justin Fields. We'll talk about Ryan Day. And I think that's a pretty good place to start, Zach. I mean, you played for Urban Meyer there. You were part of that transition that made that so successful. This is a different situation than Urban inherited. That roster that we've seen down the street at the Woody all week is one of the most talented in the country. That is a big help. But what do you think that the biggest challenge will be for Ryan Day in year one?
I think the biggest challenge is something that he was talking about yesterday to the media is just now it's his own team, right? Last year when he was going through training camp, it was kind of living day by day. He was talking to Coach Meyer. Obviously Mickey Marotti had a lot to do with what was going to transpire over that camp. But now it's Ryan Day's team, right? He's the guy in charge. Kind of everyone answers to him. And so now he's able to plan the whole training camp out. Now he's able to put his twist on the team, his personality on the team. And so I think from his biggest standpoint, this is where you get the message, right? This is where you kind of get the goal for the year. You always hear about the chase and all that stuff that Urban Meyer had. This is really where you preach it, and this is where you execute it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, he keeps getting that question, which is, obvious. You want to know what's it like to follow a legend. What's it like to follow Urban Meyer? A guy that lost 9 games in 7 years and won a national championship, et cetera. But people say, what's going to be your stamp? He's already hired 5 new coaches. He revamped the defensive staff, which Urban Meyer was going to have to do. probably grudgingly. He was going to have to do something because last year would not stand, correct? Is that the right term? Even though they only lost one game. And he's got a brand-new starting quarterback. Well, he hadn't named him yet. Well, one of them's going to be brand new.
There will be a new starting quarterback.
Exactly. But
I think we've adopted the policy.
Yeah, and
offensively,
they're going to be new full-time starters across the board. This is definitely going to be, when that team takes the field, it's going to be Ryan Day's team in all kinds of ways. Except, he didn't recruit all these guys, but he did recruit a lot of them, you know. And so I think he's going to really tire of that question as the season goes along, but he'll probably be a gentleman and still answer it.
Yeah, Beanie, what's impressed you the most about Ryan Day so far?
Just his ability to be able to grasp a team. I mean, that's one of the things that, I noticed last year when he was at the helm is his ability to be able to get this team to play loose, play fast, and just to be able to just buy into what he's selling. And I think that's going to be key going into the season. It's his team. He has an entire offseason. It wasn't just a couple of months like he had last camp.
Yeah.
And we saw that team be a completely different team when he was at the helm last year. And I only look forward to the fact that he's going to have all this time working with him. Those guys believe in him, and what he does works.
Yeah, Zach touched on this. I mean, you still have Mickey Marotti.
Yep.
So that he's leading the offseason. That hasn't changed. You're not going to find a better strength coach in America than him. You still have Mark Pantoni. They've got one of the best recruiting classes in the country.
My guy,
Pantoni. Two guys you know well. Yeah. And then number 3, Ryan Stamper. Not everybody knows what he does behind the scenes for Ohio State, but Beanie, Zach, you guys both know how important he's been for Urban Meyer.
The whole support staff's huge, right? Even when Coach Tressel was there, as you go on, it's not just the head coach. It's almost like the head coach is the head of the team, right? He's the guy who's talking in the media. He gets the most attention. But really, in some ways, he's the least important guy because from a player standpoint, you spend so much time with your position coaches. You spend so much time in the offseason with the strength conditioning coaches, with the academic staff, with guys like Ryan Stamper who are going around making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? So there are so many moving parts that people don't understand. But I'm going to go back to what Beanie said is, all these guys are still in place, but when you have a team like Ohio State and you've got that much talent and you've got 5-star guys that you have been the best in the country, right? It's easy for Urban Meyer to walk in and say, hey, I demand your attention because it's Urban Meyer. For Ryan Day to get these guys' attention and be able to do what he's doing, it speaks volumes for the kind of coach he is, the relationship that he has with the team. I mean, to me, that's the bigger storyline than just Ryan Day walking in.
Yeah, no, but they know he's been part and parcel. I mean, it's a pretty good offense under Urban Meyer the first 5 years, but it took off.
Oh, yeah.
From a passing game standpoint, even with the J.T. Barrett and then, of course, last year. But Ryan Day, they all know Ryan Day has brought some stuff to the program. On top of that, he's been in the NFL. He knows what that's all about. Those guys all want to get to the show, to the league, And then he went out and hired guys. I mean, Mike Yurcich is coming from Oklahoma State. I mean,
another potent offense.
Yeah.
Oh, for
granted,
sure.
They played in a league where they don't play defense. But the bottom line was, I mean, it's all about just being creative and getting more guys involved in the. I think these guys all embrace that. I mean, I think they see that Ryan Day is not standing pat. And that also they've already been around him enough to understand he is a bright guy to begin with.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was Ryan Day only a quarterback's coach? Was he only a position coach?
No, he was.
He was also calling the plays the last 2 years.
He was co-offensive coordinator.
I'm not at Ohio State. I'm talking about prior to Ohio State.
Right, yeah.
He was quarterback.
Yeah, just quarterback.
This is a quarterback coach. That's the more impressive thing to me. You have a guy, his first year, he goes in, he's the head coach and the offensive coordinator. He has success, and now he becomes the head coach.
Yeah.
And you already believe in him based off of the short sample size that we've seen last year when he's had the opportunity to be a head coach. That's the more impressive to me. Yeah. You got a guy coaching all this time, finally gets a shot and succeeds.
And I think the other thing is, listen, from a player's perspective, right, you give respect to the coach, right, but the coach has to earn it.
Right. Yeah.
I think from the players standing and sitting in that locker room and sitting in that team room, when he came in, and I love the previous coaches, but when he came in and fired those guys after this year and basically said, I'm going out and hiring him, and him,
right.
I think from the players' perspective, they were like, oh, man, I got respect for that guy, right? Changes need to be made. He understood it. He wasn't going to stand pat for what Urban Meyer had here, and he's going out to make changes. He wants to succeed.
Status quo is for suckers and losers.
Yeah, it was not going to work, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. That was the worst statistical defense in school history for Ohio State last year. You said it throughout the Buckeye Qs at Lettermen Row, Zach. They did not meet the silver bullet standard. You were part of it. Those guys did not stop the run. They gave up so many 80-yard plays. I don't even remember how many they were. The pass everybody knows what happened to that secondary. It was not the BIA unit that it was supposed to be. So there were changes. There's 4 new coaches there. They got 2 of them from the other side of the rivalry. I don't know what exactly they're going to look like, Zach. We still have a lot of this under wraps, but what do you expect from Greg Madison, Jeff Hafley, Al Washington, Matt Barnes, and then Larry Johnson, the holdover? You know what you're going to get from the Rushman. What do you expect there?
Do you know what? This is what I think is going to be the biggest difference, is that last year they looked like a really simple defense but made it really complex, right? They came out and they almost stayed in that 4-3 with Pete Warner out there, but they made it so complex that the players couldn't play. I think this year, when they go out on the field, everyone's going to be like, oh, my God, what's going on? Because it's going to look so complex and so different because there's going to be so many moving parts, but the defense is going to be so simple that the guys are going to be able to play. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference, right? Beanie knows it. When you're standing in the backfield on offense and you see all kinds of guys moving around and you don't know what's going to happen, but knowing that the guys on defense, it's so simple that they can just play and can just read and react. That's the biggest difference. I think that's what especially Greg Madison brings to the equation, because he's always ran some complex-looking defense, but everywhere he's been, he's successful, and the best defense are the most simple ones.
And I think for the most part, these guys are going to run a defense that fits their players. They're not going to sit up here and say, we run this scheme, it's going to be our scheme, and you have to adapt to it. You're not going to be successful that way.
It didn't work last year.
Exactly.
There were times last year. I mean, the one thing I learned about football when I first started watching it and really getting into it 50 years ago, the two words.
Don't say 50 years ago, Tim.
Well, I know, but it still pertains to today. And what we saw last year a lot is the term gap sound on defense. And Jim Trustle's big line was line up right. That's the only thing he told his defensive coach, which meant be gap sound, have things covered from the basics, and then if you want to get a little creative, go from there. There were times last year when linebackers were taking the wrong steps for whatever reason. They were getting washed out. I mean, just a little shade here, and boom, guys were gone. And it was just hard to watch sometimes because it did not seem to get – that Maryland game was a nightmare for a team that should have been – a team that wanted to be in the college football playoff and had put Purdue behind them. Are you kidding me? And that had to be addressed, and that had to be scheme or coaching as much as anything else, because we looked out there yesterday, and the 3 number 1 linebackers were the same guys, Malik Harrison, Tuff Borland, and Pete Warner. Well, they must be convincing somebody that they can play.
Yeah,
so
they convinced an old staff that had some NFL guys and had been in this profession a long time. I wrote this at Lettermen Row that I don't think they suddenly forgot everything they knew about coaching football. The schemes, you can take issue with the way they put in the game plans each week. If you don't like their personnel, fine. But those guys have been identifying talent. They had to draft it for a long time. Schiano had to recruit it previously at Rutgers. They know what they want. And now you have a new staff, a new linebackers coach who still sees the same thing. Greg Madison, Hafley's involved in that now. Washington. They still say, you know what? Pete Warner brings a lot to the table. Tuff Borland is as solid as they come, and maybe if he's finally healthy, you're seeing that guy who was a difference maker at the end of 2017. Blake Harrison, we know that he was going to be a starter as soon as he decided to come back. But I don't think that they're just rolling them out there for fun or just because they used to be starters. I mean, and maybe that'll change by the end of camp. But
there's some guys coming up. Teradja Mitchell. Teradja Mitchell's. Kayvon Pope is getting more and more talk about him, et cetera. I mean, Dallas Gant, people talk, but they've got a lot of weapons there, tools for their toolbox now that they can. And of course, we haven't even talked about the bullet position. I mean, how much are they going to use it? Brendan White looks like a linebacker 1 minute, a safety the next. I mean, but he actually physically looks that way. Right. So they're trying to exploit that. I mean, there are a lot of ways they can make this, as Zach was saying, make it look more complex than it really is to the team you're watching. Remember, the Dallas Cowboys would have all this motion stuff, but they only ran 8 plays under Tom Landry. Right. I mean, that's what is kind of like the idea there. But like he's saying and Beanie's saying, the thing you don't want is you don't want the scheme to get in the way, and Madison has said this, don't want the scheme to get in the way of guys just playing.
Yeah.
And I thought it did last year. I don't think there was any doubt.
Beanie, you've got a few pairs of gold pants. I know when those guys were first hired, Madison, Washington coming across, there were fans that asked, hey, what is going on here? They're taking guys from Michigan and bringing them on the other side. What do you make of it as a player? Would that have mattered to you if you were in the locker room?
I don't think it would have. I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago, it may, when I'm in it at that point in time. And I think in this day and age, you go out and you get the best guys that's going to help you win. And I think those are two quality coaches that are going to help Ohio State succeed. And I think people are more accepting of that now more so than later. Before it was like, you know what, we can't have anybody from the rivalry side, but now with social media, with access to see how good guys are and the impact that they do have, you're more successful to saying, you know what, I'll take him if he's going to make me better.
But where I would have had a question wasn't the fact they're from Michigan. It's the fact that Michigan defense gave up 62 points to your team. And then Matt Barnes is from Maryland, and that team gave up 52 points, 114 between them. That's the questions, what are your specific plans for these guys? Because holy moly, And he does have a specific plan. I mean, Greg Madison felt like he was, withering on the vine.
Yeah.
And guy who's been in the NFL as a defensive coordinator, and he's a line coach at Michigan, and he wants another shot at the brass ring before he hangs it up.
Yeah. A reminder here as we roll along on our Lettermen Row season preview for Ohio State that Roosters is the official wing sponsor of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Roosters giving away 12 trips for 2 to this year's Buckeye Bowl game.
12.
Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 game tickets to the bowl game. Other than the game tickets, I'd take all the rest for sure because I'll be in the press box, but that's pretty sweet. One bowl prize winner chosen each week along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. Register every week at your favorite Roosters or at roosterswings.com. Roosters is a fun, casual joint. We appreciate them for having us here. Hoping to keep this partnership going for a long time.
Those are real prizes there.
I mean, that's pretty good.
This is coupons for $5 off.
Right.
They should throw in there like dinner with Tim May.
Yeah.
Bowl game
We'll throw that in from Lettermen Row.
That's the consolation prize. The second, third prize is
Brothers,
2 dinners with me.
There you go.
That starts on August 25th, I should mention as well. So that's going to go all season long. All right, offensive side. We've got that defense out of the way. I know Beanie's been waiting for this one. Get over the offensive side. I know he wants to talk about the running game, but we can't start without Justin Fields. So it's a quarterback situation. For our intents and purposes here, he's going to be the starter.
Right.
What does he mean to Ohio State, Beanie?
I think he means a lot. When you look at the fact that he's one of the top-rated recruits that Ohio State was ever able to get, although he was at another school before, the fact that we got him and you understand his talent. You know that he's a guy that can run the ball, he can pass the ball exceptionally well. I think with us having an experienced guy back there at the quarterback position helps us because we're not hitting that reset button entirely. Now, he is going to be into a new system, has to fit in with new guys, but it's not a complete reset because he has had college football experience.
You know what's funny? What if he'd come here last year? Would he be somewhere else this year? Wow. I mean, would he have beaten Dwayne Haskins Jr.?
Isn't that a funny way that college football works now? That they were better off. They were not involved in that recruitment. Mm-hmm. They were getting Emory Jones, and then they got Matthew Baldwin.
Right.
They were not involved really at all with Justin Fields, which you'd think they'd normally be.
And they didn't try to recruit Gunnar Hoke.
Yeah, so
that could be your backup.
You're probably right. I mean, because he would not have beat out Dwayne Haskins last year.
It's crazy. Would you have ever exercised the transfer portal?
No, I don't think so. No, that's just
how
me,
crazy,
though,
how
right?
crazy has it made college football look in the last 2 years?
Obviously, it makes it a little crazy, but here's the thing that I don't get is that you see a lot of quarterbacks doing it, and quarterbacks are able to play, right? But then you see tight ends, running backs, and these guys jumping in, and not everyone's like getting clearance, right? The kid that went to Illinois, right? That's probably got a better excuse than Tate Martell or Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And guess what? It doesn't get accepted,
kid
right?
Kid Cincinnati from Michigan.
Yeah, the kid from Cincinnati.
Hey, that's that old line. You got to make sure somebody gets nailed just so it looks like you're doing your job.
Yeah, it
well,
adds
Matthew
a whole,
Baldwin didn't get approved.
Yeah, he didn't, right? It adds a whole new dynamic, but in my mind, it is what it is, right? This is the first year that it's really become a big controversy, and so I'm just going to see how it plays out.
But Ohio State is the most affected by guys leaving quarterback-wise, and maybe the most improved by somebody showing up. The guy beat Trevor Lawrence in the Elite 11 competition. I'm talking about Justin Fields did a couple years ago, and all that guy did was lead Clemson to a national championship.
At the same time,
this guy's got ability, man.
No, he does. But the transfer portal is just a transfer portal, right? He still has to come in, win a starting job, right? He still has to be able to play.
Right.
If he goes out against FAU and throws 4 picks and Ohio State loses and gets upset, right? I mean, come on.
What have you done for me lately?
Right,
it's funny, man. The Big Ten Network was in town earlier, and they had to send 2 defensive guys to talk to him. Ohio State did, and 2 offensive guys. Well, they didn't send
didn't send KJ Hill.
They didn't send Justin Fields, Gunnar Hoke, and Chris Chugunov. They sent Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins.
Yes.
So they haven't named him yet. Headed into the season, but it
was funny because they did picture day, and OhioStateBuckeyes.com, the front picture, Justin Fields. He's got the number 1. He's on there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's.
What if you get his jersey yet?
I mean,
we've talked about that, Zach.
But I
both.
think,
Was it 1 to 19?
I think from an offensive standpoint, though, right? You almost they haven't named Justin Fields as starter, but you almost have to, right? Because they know J.K. Dobbins has to get 25 carries a game, right? He's going to be in there so many times this year.
Yeah.
And last year, the biggest issue with Ohio State was people would jam the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber wouldn't gain yards, but I think that's probably the reason why Dwayne Haskins went off the way he did, is because everyone was inside the box. I think they're going to play Justin Fields regardless because of his ability to run, and he's a great passer,
No,
right?
you're right.
But
No,
just from his ability to run, they are going to start him and play him because it's going to open up the box for J.K. Dobbins because defenses are going to have to play contained for Justin Fields getting outside of the pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of like chicken or egg. What came first, them jamming the box because they knew Dwayne Haskins Jr. wasn't going to run, and Ohio State decided to throw, or Ohio State deciding to throw because they knew they couldn't run Dwayne Haskins Jr. and boom, everything. But you're exactly right. I mean, like we were talking about on an earlier podcast, this opens things up so dramatically for J.K. Dobbins, more like when he was with J.T. Barrett.
Yeah.
Because the legit running threat from the other guy in the backfield just messes with the defense's mind, I'm sure.
Yeah, and J.K. Dobbins, to his credit, he doesn't put it all on the fact that Dwayne Haskins was more of a passer than J.T. Barrett. So he talked after the first practice, Beanie. I'm curious to get your thoughts. We've talked about him. We broke him down a bunch of times. He called last year a failure. He still rushed for 1,000 yards. He's the only guy, I believe, in school history to do it as a freshman and a sophomore.
Yeah.
So you know how difficult that is. He calls it a failure. So what does that mean for him now? What does he need to do to get back on track? What signs are there that he may do that?
Last year he did run for 1,000 yards, and when you look at it, he had a solid season. But there were a lot of missed opportunities. I know you and I were breaking down film at times, and there were times where he was pressured because he was splitting carries with Mike Weber. He wanted to hit the home run every time he touched the football. And as a running back, that clouds your vision. It distorts your mind when you're trying to just all of a sudden get to the open space. You're not trusting the offensive lineman. You're not trusting the integrity of the play that's going to be called. Exactly. Yeah. And I think he wants to get back to that. And I think that's going to be critical and important for him to get back to playing that style of football, which we saw his freshman year. I think he can do it. He has the ability. And him not having somebody over his shoulder is certainly going to help.
And to think that can't happen is folly. Because go watch Google Eddie George's highlights as a junior when he was running up the backs of offensive linemen, running he just wanted to make something happen right now. And watch him as a senior. Hell, I mean, Eddie George is never going to win probably a big race with most people, but he looked like a breakaway. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, the guy next to you did that too.
Exactly. Well, this guy was fast too. But, I mean, you and Eddie might have – I don't know. But my point was the patience of just letting it happen in front of you and then going. And as he pointed out, J.K. Dobbins did the other day, this is a potentially stellar offensive line based on potential – based on stars. I know stars don't matter if you get there, but that's why they recruit these guys. But there's 3 or 4 5 stars in front of him that look like they have the potential to be the makings of a great offensive line.
All right, Lettermen Row season preview here brought to you by Roosters. Going to take a quick break, talk to our sponsors about that bowl trip. We'll be back in just a second. All right, we'll take a quick break from the show, the season preview, but we're not going to stop talking about football when we're at Roosters. That's part of the deal, right, Nicole? You guys are big-time sponsors with Ohio State. 12 bowl trips you're giving away again this year. What a cool opportunity for some fans to go with Ohio State on the road in the postseason.
We have done this for the past, this will be our 3rd season doing this, and actually it might be our 4th. It's flown by. But yes, we give away a trip to whatever bowl game the Ohio State Buckeyes go to. Each week is a new week to win. So we tell people register every single week. So we just pick one winner every week, and it's wonderful. They get to bring a guest. Yeah. It's VIP, all exclusive. It's wonderful.
Now, the best way to register is to come in and get wings first, but that's not the only way, right?
Yes. You can register online, and we tell people, put it on your social media, get people to register, but yes, coming to Roosters, you can also do that.
So you got the bowl thing going on, and then the Roosters Foundation, always active. What's the latest there?
So we actually have our annual charitable golf outing coming up. We've been so fortunate. It's been sold out every year before we even open registration. But we've been able able to raise over $800,000 to give back to the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer and the James Cancer Hospital.
A great foundation,
so
too.
It is. It's wonderful. It's very important to us to be able to give back to the community. Without the community, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we just really enjoy supporting everyone.
I was really excited, Nicole. I just found out that there was a new Roosters opening up in Dublin, close to where I live.
There
So,
is.
I mean, I'm covered all over town, but
Yes.
you guys are still growing, still expanding here. It's got to be pretty exciting.
So we actually have our brand new, we have 2 food trucks now. We have our food truck grand opening tonight, and then we are opening the Sawmill store at the beginning of September. So it's been a very exciting year.
That's just down the street from one Lettermen Row headquarters and the other one downtown, of course. Really excited to be hanging out here with Nicole and everybody at Roosters to talk about Ohio State football, the foundation. 12 bowl trips are given away. We're going to keep everybody updated throughout the season on that. So thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here.
I'm excited. Thank you. All right, guys, it's prediction time. Getting to that part of the show. Start with that schedule. I think it's more difficult than anybody really gives it credit for, and let me tell you why. I think the FAU game, that you're going to look at an offense with Lane Kiffin that's going to be really creative and that first real test of the Silver Bullets. Personnel-wise, every game, I'd pick Ohio State to beat everyone on the schedule. But looking at specific tests, you got to go out and get one for the defense in week 1. Cincinnati, that's going to be their Super Bowl.
It's going to be UC's going to be a tough game.
And that's the test for the offense in Justin Fields. That'll be his second week, his second start. And then you go on the road a couple times in September in the Big Ten. That is never easy. People that are always looking for those trap games, those road games that can trip up Ohio State. We've seen them the last couple of years, obviously, with Iowa and Purdue. I'm not thinking Indiana's one, but certainly Nebraska. And if that game does get moved to night kickoff, look out, because they're going to be looking to put themselves on the map.
If they wear black, look out even more, because the last two, last two.
I think it's, like you said, it's much tougher than what people think. FAU was not a bad team last year under Lane Kiffin. They were running and gunning and put up some big points and won a lot more games than people thought they would. And then UC, listen, the way that Urban Meyer, and I love Urban, right? But the way that he's been recruiting over the last 6-7 years since he's been at Ohio State, he's went more to a national look. In the past couple of years, he's only taken, 3 kids from Ohio. So you got to think, there's a lot of other Ohio kids that are really good football players that ended up at UC with Coach Fickle, and that ended up before he got there. That's their Super Bowl, man. They're coming into the shoe. That's what they dreamt about. They wanted to play at Ohio State. And Coach Fickle, is first time playing against Ohio State since he's left, right? He's going to throw everything at Ohio State. In my mind, that's a trap game, right? I think it's going to come down to the second half. Ohio State, they're going to let the horses out. The athletes are going to get to them. But early on, Coach Fickle and UC is going to try and make it a pounder of a game, and that's where they can hang in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, defensively, they're going to try to get after Ohio State without a doubt. Like we were talking about the other day, they don't match up. Just mano a mano. Hombre a hombre actually is what it is. But they don't match up. But then again, the little adrenaline here and the lack of a little adrenaline here can make wonders. But you know what? There's guys on the defensive side of Ohio State who are still around who probably want to show Luke Fickle a thing or two.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the grudge thing's there. But I'm telling you what, man, they go by Indiana, then Miami University, but then Nebraska. It's a murder. It's kind of a murderer's row
well,
there for Ohio
got
State.
Nebraska, Michigan State, Northwestern.
Right, Northwestern on Friday night.
But then you still have got Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
Penn State, Michigan.
It's not easy. Not a walk in the park.
That potential last 3 games. So I'm going to jump way ahead on this one, Beanie. But if you're looking at a team that survives that gauntlet and then gets to the last 2 weeks of the regular season and potentially the Big Ten championship, you have to play Penn State, Michigan, and then the winner of the West to get to the playoff. The Big Ten. This is why I say they deserve more credit, and their champion should automatically be in. Yeah. And they weren't the last couple of years.
Should be.
You survived that 3-game stretch. Holy cow! You have proven something in year 1.
It's gonna be tough. I think the one thing that Ohio State has that they can hang their hat on is they got the 2 bye weeks. So those 2 bye weeks are going to give them the ability to be a little bit fresher, get guys healthy. But it's not going to be an easy schedule like everybody think it is. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You have tough teams that are going to throw everything at a first-year head coach and a first-year quarterback. So they're going to try to do some things to confuse them. They're going to try to make it tough on them. Ohio State has to be prepared. I think we will do a solid job. But like you guys said, I do not think it's going to be easy at all, especially when we're talking about UC and Luke Fickle.
Based on preseason projections or whatever, they're playing the cream of the West.
Right.
Pretty much. And so they could play one of those teams, if they get to the championship game, they could play one of the teams they played again, which would be
in
very
my
interesting.
mind, easily the top 3 teams in the West: Nebraska, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there even any other teams in the West besides them?
Yeah. Well,
people keep trying to talk about
Purdue's sitting
Minnesota
there.
too. I think the West is wide
Sleeping
open.
dog.
But for me, if I'm picking a champ, it's from those 3.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree 100%. I mean, I'm not sure if Nebraska is quite ready to make that big leap, but they're going to be dangerous on offense because they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and Adrian Martinez, as you well know. He's going to be healthy, supposedly. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's this schedule is not getting enough attention.
All right, give me some breakout picks, Tim. I'll start with you because I know who you're picking. Who's coming out of nowhere to emerge for Ohio State?
Well, Demario McCall. Well, Josh Proctor has been the guy I've been leaning
That's
on.
what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's got to play. How they're going to play him, I think if they take the field tomorrow, I think Josh Proctor and Jordan Fuller are your starting safeties. But what do you do with the bullet? You know, I mean, are they going to bite the bullet or are they going to play the bullet? But yeah, Josh Proctor defensively is my breakout guy. You going to come back to me for an offensive guy in a minute?
Well, I mean, go for it. Just take it right now. I don't care.
Demario McCall. Hey, too many guys are talking too much big-time things about Garrett Wilson for him not – now, I'm not saying he's going to be right off the bat, but by the middle of – I remember Chris Carter's freshman year. It was my first year covering Ohio State football in #84. Middle of the year, that guy had to play. It was obvious.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that I've got my eye on, and the other guy is Benjamin Victor. Is he finally going to become that consistent guy? Because we all know he turned the season around with one play at Penn State, but then kind of where did he go?
Zach, who you got?
Tim kind of took some of my thunder. Right?
Well, we can double
You
up.
can say Taraji Mitchell.
First off, it's Garrett Wilson, right? There's just way too much talk about him, and I hate to, put it on a freshman, right? True freshman coming in, listen, you can play great in the spring, great in fall camp. It's different. Come the season, come the mental grind of the season, the lights come on, you're playing in front of 110,000, right? Hopefully he's got that switch because all the great players, especially when you play young, have to have the switch. So let's see if he has it. But my bigger breakout is just a group in general, and that's the O-line, right? We saw how much the O-line struggled last year. I think you add Wyatt Davis in there. Who knows if Josh Myers is going to be – but Jonah Jackson, Mumford, right? Who knows if Bowen's going to be in there. It's that's up in the air. But I just think as a whole, the offensive line is going to be so much better than what they were last year.
I think, as your brother could vouch, if you win that center job, you better be a breakout player.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important.
I'm telling you, Harry Miller looks the part. I mean, wow, the freshman.
That's almost impossible to do.
I know.
Right? I mean, how many true freshmen starting?
I'm not saying he's going to start. I'm just telling you that's what they've got going. They didn't have the last several years. They got some guys.
Here's the one thing I could see. I could see if Harry Miller is that good in the middle of the season, I could see them moving possibly Jonah Jackson over to center, putting in Harry Miller at guard, and letting him go that way just so he's around hearing it, right? Because there's rumors coming around that, hey, if there's another really good guard, they may move Jonah Jackson to center and see what he can do on the offensive line.
Haven't had Jonah Jackson. I mean,
it's a
talk about transfer portal.
Rutgers graduate transfer there. All right, Beanie, what do you got for us? A couple names.
Well, I mean, I was going to throw out Demario McCall, but
he's all yours.
No, I'm not going to go that route today, even though that is a guy that I want to see. I mean, that's more of a personal thing for me because I see the talent there. But I think Benjamin Victor. I think he's finally going to step up and stake claim. We saw glimpses of him in years past and make some incredible catches. I think on a consistent basis, he's going to be that marquee guy on the offensive end. And a guy on the defensive side of the ball who we saw last year, midway through the year, Brendan White. I think he's going to take hold of that bullet position. He's going to be a big player for us on the defensive side this year.
Yeah, I'm so curious to see how they're going to do that. I mean, how they're going to mix and match things there because we didn't see it in the spring game.
Well, I also think you're going to see possibly because Sean Wade, what he's playing, you may see him line up at corner. Heck, you may see some other guys, right? You could. You never know what you're going to get from those DBs.
That's the beauty of this roster is they've got a great, in my opinion, a budding, rising player in Sean Wade who is going to, for one of another term, is going to be their slot cover guy anyway, just like he was last year. There aren't many teams in the country that can throw a quality guy like that out into their nickel or their dime defense. I mean, that's why I think this team, man, people that pick Michigan, I just go, aren't you paying attention? They lost their three best defensive players last year. And I don't see it.
Shea Patterson's leading them to the promised land.
I know.
Right?
One of the best coaches.
I know.
It's funny you mentioned
It's like
Sean.
Moses, he led them to the promised land, but he didn't get to go down.
You mentioned Sean Wade in the secondary, Tim, and the fact that he's in that nickel or slot corner is because Damon Arnett is one of my breakout picks. He's still there as a starting corner. I think he's completely changed his mindset. He's got a completely new coach with NFL experience working with him. He was raked over the coals the last couple of years. I don't think he ever played as poorly as some of the criticism leveled at him was. I don't think it was accurate. I think that it was difficult for them. They had issues in scheme. They had issues elsewhere, put the corners in bad spots. I think Damon Arnett is going to bounce back, and his return was really significant. He was actually all the way out the door. He left from the Rose Bowl, went to Dallas, was looking for an apartment so he could start training for the NFL draft before deciding after a couple days of conversation to come back. That's significant for Ohio State. And offensively, you guys left me one that I've talked about since day one in spring ball. Jalen Gill, I think, is another reason that Demario McCall will have a hard time finding that permanent role because you put him in that H-back spot. One thing we've talked about is the under center. If you put Jalen Gill on a jet sweep, he's got a lot of Paris Campbell in him with the speed and running back ability. He's shown more as a receiver. I like what he brings to Ohio State a lot. So those will be my two guys. All right, team MVPs. What do you got? Just pick one. You're either going to have to go offense or defense.
My MVP, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. You almost have to, right? He's the guy who's going to have the ball in his hand the most, right? He's getting the ball every single play, every single snap.
Dude.
I just think his running ability matched with what he has with J.K. Dobbins at running back, where people are going to be so concentrated on J.K., and then the wide receivers that they are rolling out and what Hartline's done with that group, especially with the revamped offensive line. I mean, people aren't, and this is a far-fetched, but I'm saying it, people aren't mentioning J.K. Dobbins or Justin Fields in the Heisman race, right? In my mind, the skill set that they have on the offensive side of the ball, God, they're going to be dangerous.
You're at Ohio State. When you're one of those guys at Ohio State, you better be mentioned in the Heisman.
Better be there, yeah.
Hey, the Silver Football knows who the Ohio State quarterback is. The Silver Football Award from Chicago Tribune. I mean, it's crazy. Everything's there for him to be this big-time breakout national star if he takes care of business and is as good as we think he is, and maybe a little bit better. I don't know how you look past him.
Okay.
But Chase Young, passes the eye test as John Cooper used to say, and there's a guy to keep your eye on. And a while ago when I was naming breakout players, I want to throw this in here if they were naming MVPs. Now, Tyreek Smith is a guy to keep your eye on.
Sure.
I mean, everybody's talking about him, and Zach Harrison as a freshman, boy, you haven't even seen him play yet, but everybody's talking about him too, the weight he's put on and the way he's looking. I mean, there are some breakout guys, but back to the MVP, it's how do you – I don't know. Most people can't get past the quarterback when they start voting on stuff like that anyway.
Yeah. I think, though, that I would take Chase Young if he stays healthy, and if Nick Bosa had stayed healthy last year, he would have been a Heisman finalist in my mind. The way that he played in those first 2.5 games, Chase Young can do the exact same thing. If there's a player who can break through on the defensive side, who can change – I mean, it also affected what Greg Schiano and Billy Davis could do last year when you took Nick Bosa off and you didn't have – someone you could build your entire defense around who needs 3 blockers.
Well, Chase Young wasn't 100% either. I mean, he had 2 bad ankles.
So if you need to double and triple team Chase Young, that makes it that much easier for the other 10 guys on defense. And by the way, if you do that, you're going to have a tremendous problem on your hand because you mentioned Tyreek Smith, Jonathan Cooper, Devon Hamilton, Robert Landers. I can keep going on the defensive tackle spot. What are you going to do? You don't have enough guys to block them.
He and I at Birmingham, we were talking to Chase Young about after practice the other day, just kind of shooting the bull. And he was talking about, you think they're really double team me? And we go, no, man, they may double team you and chip you, or they may triple team you. And we recalled that game against Illinois where they tried to block Joey Bosa with 4 guys. I mean,
he better be ready for that.
He better be ready for a crowd.
But you're gambling if you do that. I'm telling you, because Jonathan Cooper and Tyreek Smith on the other side.
That's why I'm saying those guys could be breakouts, but Tyreek.
And a guy not to overlook, if we're talking about deep breakouts, Ja'Shawn Cornell, he's playing some of that 3 technique.
Yeah.
He was a 5-star recruit, one of the best in the country coming out. It's taken some time. We've seen that happen with other guys that if you stick it through for that 5th year, sometimes that's when guys turn it on. But I'm jumping all over your MVP pick.
Austin, you broke all the rules, all you guys did. I mean, you said
one
guy.
I thought you already named Demario McCall.
J.K. Dobbins is my guy.
Yep.
J.K., he's going to touch the ball a lot. I mean, he's going to be the stud back there.
We named all these guys because we knew you were taking the
This
tailback.
reminds me of that Heisman commercial where they're all in this fraternity house and they keep naming each other. Yeah. I mean, J.K., man, this could really be his launch. I mean, like we were just talking about, because he no longer has that other guy, and he has a running quarterback with him. And you're exactly right. And the way they want to run the ball because they felt playing. They felt like they were playing left-handed a lot last year,
Right.
or with one arm tied behind their back, not being able to run the ball like they wanted to. That will be. Everybody looks at Ryan Day and thinks da. He was all fired up about the defense yesterday.
Yep.
Even though it had 4 interceptions against his beloved offense. I mean, he wants to run the ball. He understands football.
All right, let's finish it up here on Lettermen Row. Season preview brought to you by Roosters. Is Ohio State going to be in the college football playoff?
Yes.
Yes or no? All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this team's going to get better and better and better as the season goes on. Yes, I think they will.
Beanie?
Yes.
All right. It's a clean slate here. Ohio State's going back to the college football playoff, so you can plan for that, win that bowl trip, head to the college football playoff semifinals brought to you by Roosters there. Hey, for Beanie, Tim May, Zach Boren, I'm Austin Ward. It's been great hanging out down here talking about Ohio State. The season is finally here. Kickoff on August 31st against FAU. The Ryan Day era set to begin. Thanks for joining us here at Roosters. I'm Austin Ward for Lettermen Row.